What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Austin, and thanks for tuning in for this week's Roundup. Joining me as every week, well, I don't want to make a liar out of myself. We didn't do one last week due to a scheduling conflict, but we are doing one this week. Mr. Davin Broadbent. Davin, what's up, buddy? How's it going?
Hey, Austin. Yeah, glad to be here. And yeah, it's been another busy week.
It has been a hell of a busy week. So I want to touch on something real quick before we dive in. I did an AMA with the group last week. Was able to, again, kind of repaint the vision, but we're still kind of in that lull space. And I know our community is feeling that. And we've used these words like imminently.
I think, yeah. And to be fair, I mean, you did a great job in that spaces, by the way, or that AMA. And, we are refining the messaging. So on our side, again, we know it's product, right? We know you want product. We know you want when exchange. And all of these things are moving forward. You will start to see things like the demo being kind of narrowed down and focused, which again, on our side, we are working at the moment on brand, UX, UI, all of those user journeys and flows that will help massively for people to wrap their heads around it. We've also got some really, really interesting stuff that we are working through at the moment on the customer facing pieces, the product pieces that people will again get to touch and feel and see product working on our chain. There's lots and lots of exciting things going on. Obviously the exchange is a huge focus, and I think Tom said this, you've said this, I've said this. It is kind of the engine that kind of provides all of these wider pieces of functionality, and I can't say enough how groundbreaking it is, partnerships aside, even technology aside, what this unlocks for us, and we've seen things, in the market this week, and we're going to continue to see narratives, as we roll through the next probably 3 or 4 months, where, innovative new products or positioning around marketing of new products and new things in the crypto space are going to make all sorts of great claims. They're going to deliver. They're going to deliver products. They're going to, there's going to be a lot of interesting consumer-facing tech. There's going to be a lot of interesting, AI as a sector that people are looking at. There's going to be a lot of, probably revisiting of old sectors. There's going to be the metaverse. There's going to be DeFi. And again, we've seen Hyperliquid, really kind of steal some ground in those areas. What we are doing is so fundamentally a paradigm shift in all of those spaces, that it's really, really hard to wrap your head around. And apart from the fact that, and again, we've hyped on about the technology and what it enables, I just want to say to everybody, that's not important, right? That is absolutely what's going to do all of the great stuff that's going to, long-term, it's going to benefit everybody. It's going to win not only kind of, hearts and minds and users and consumers across the space, but, at an institutional level, it's going to unlock new possibilities. And I'm talking, merging of two markets effectively, and the unifying of, being able to bring, the real world and banking and other things into, what is effectively a walled garden at the moment with, with crypto. They all want to play here, but they can't because of regulation. But what that unlocks for users and for, the traditional kind of crypto enthusiasts, etc., is scale, scope, liquidity, trust, and a bunch of other things that, we are literally, and despite the narratives and despite the best marketing and despite the biggest airdrops and all of those types of things, the fundamental issues around crypto hasn't changed, and it won't change until somebody brings in what we're bringing in, which is effectively that kind of complete regulatory compliant package that enables all of these things to happen. So while it's incredibly exciting that these people are bringing that kind of focus and narrative and thing to kind of pass, what we're doing is almost like just, above and beyond. And it is happening much, much faster than people think, right? There are lots and lots of things that obviously we have to do, but we are moving through those processes. These are things that I can absolutely assure people are being handled, are being worked through. So, again, I know that that's what the community wants. I know that's what token holders wants. On the utility side, I mean, they're going to be blown away. They're just literally going to be blown away. But again, these things are not it's not a light switch. It's a very rigid engineering process, and we're not going to be too late. We're not going to be, stretching this out forever. It's not going to be one of those things that we talk about in 3 years' time and we're still when exchange or whatever. This is our focus, and we are delivering. So I do want to reassure people that every week that goes by, it's not a week where we're just sitting here twiddling our thumbs and kind of sitting on our laurels. I can tell, we've been in some great calls and meetings this week. There was a presentation yesterday that unlocks some amazing potential, on the marketing side and on the retail and the product side, which we could probably talk about, more in the next couple of weeks. But all of these things are happening, and I just want to again thank you for the job that you're doing, trying to communicate this to the community, and thank the community for and those that have questions. Obviously, we welcome those. We welcome all of that, kind of input. We understand the concerns as well, but the game that we're playing, and it's not really a game, I guess, but the kind of strategy and the direction that we're working towards isn't necessarily about following the market or about pitching and positioning against, the latest product or, Hyperliquid or any of those types of things. It's literally about delivering this paradigm shift in a way that, hits on all of those fronts. And for us to achieve that, it's been a 6-year process, and we completely acknowledge that, that does seem like a lot of time, but it's been absolutely well spent.
So, all right, I want to hit you at a risk. I don't want to run us over the 15 because I know you got an appointment coming up, right? But at the risk of doing that, I want to hit you with a real direct question, but I'm going to do it indirectly. But here we go. Okay, so Hyperliquid came out, and they came out with a really, really good product. They did what I think is the biggest airdrop in history, and they're sitting at a multi-billion-dollar market cap, right? So they created their very fast layer 1 with the singleness of purpose, and it is essentially perps trading on chain with an order book. Now, I know that our community is sitting here looking at that going, multi-billion-dollar market cap. Okay. Exchange. Good, right?
Yep.
And I've heard from, and I've experienced this myself, right? When I was talking to somebody today, it's a KOL, it was somebody I was talking to about doing an AMA, and she goes, all right, $40 million market cap. Okay, what are you guys, right? And I start, if you give me somebody 15 minutes, right, I'll overcome their objections. But as I'm leading into this, she's going, that doesn't check out. There's a disconnect somewhere here. So here's where I'm going in that roundabout way. Really, I wanted to acknowledge the community. But if our tech is so great, and I know the answers to this, but I want to hear you say it. If our tech is so great, how can we be sure we're going to get the adoption necessary to facilitate the vision that's been so grand that we've been painting for this long? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, I do. And I think, it's a fair question. It's a good question. I think I'll answer it in 2 parts. One, we've already had the validation. So we've had the validation from the Web2 players that, and the institutions and the people, probably the smartest people in the room or any room that I've been in, and these are highly, highly credentialed people, and some of the people I'm talking about. They have literally validated, what we're bringing to the market, and the difference is that they are aware of all of the other market solutions, right? They're aware of they have contacts at the heads of all of the major exchanges, all of the major custody partners. These are people that can literally pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to speak to the equivalent of CZ or something like that, right? The reason that they're not currently using these platforms and these tools is because they can't. There's no way in which they can make it work. There is no way in which their assets under management or their clientele can come together with the current frameworks, and that includes all of the banks, that includes all of the major institutions, that includes anyone that has a foot in both camps, right? That it's not that they don't want to. Everyone's talking about real world assets. Everyone's talking about tokenization, right? They want to, and they've been working for years. And I'm not exaggerating, years to try and find solutions to this, to the point where many of them have divisions of their companies and teams working on this problem themselves right now directly. There have been announcements that BlackRock and others are pursuing their own solution, right? We are that. And I'm not saying that we're partnering with BlackRock, but we are that solution, right? So we are making inroads on the side of both the institutional investors, the regulatory environment, all of those types of things, that once we unlock, the inflows will match. And on the retail side, what that means effectively is that you will have access to all of that. But more importantly, you will have it in a way that addresses all of those critical concerns. So again, back to what we said at the start, exchanges are exchanges, right? Who cares if they don't, who cares if it's custodial or non-custodial? Who cares if they hold your assets or you hold your assets? I mean, we do. Obviously, we care about that because we think it's ridiculous that you don't have custody and visibility around your assets. But from a traditional crypto, and I use the word traditional with air quotes, right? But from a crypto user's perspective, you've gone through all of the hard work. You've done all of the upskilling necessary. You've gone through that. You've jumped through the hoops and the hurdles to give yourself the knowledge to overcome that huge barrier to entry, around using any of these tools and systems and services. And somehow you've internalized that risk. You've basically said, do you know what? I'm okay with this, right? And if there's anyone in crypto that hasn't been scammed, or hasn't had something bad happen to them, or had tokens go in the wrong direction, you've only been here 5 minutes. Wait 5 minutes, and I guarantee it'll happen three or four more times, right? And somehow we've internalized that as well, right? So that's been you know what, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that level of risk. We solve all of that, and I can unequivocally say that is important. That is important in the real world, and it will be important in crypto, because that is the way that the market is moving. That's the way that any maturing market moves. It's about doing business in the way that people want to do business, and it's about making sure that we have the ability to service all of those things. So while I understand the kind of hyperliquid and I understand all of those narratives, and I think hats off, they did a great job. They really did. They did a great job of marketing that. I've seen airdrops, massive airdrops go horribly wrong. And that market cap, it seems attractive, right? But the problem with that is acquiring those users and bringing those people on board. It's almost like a telco, right? Remember when mobile phone deals first came out and everyone was like locked in for the rest of their lives, and they were like, paying all of this stuff, and then every SMS would cost you like $1 or whatever, and you're like, oh, I can't afford to send a message.
Yeah.
So the churn that then happened when phone providers and telcos and hardware owners opened up those networks and said, okay, third parties, you guys can come in and you can effectively resell or act as independent markets for our infrastructure, and then we will allow you to kind of bid on or kind of take a percentage of that bandwidth and availability, sell that to your customers. And then it became very competitive. And then people were like, okay, I haven't got a great phone deal. I want more data, or I want more this. And so they start churning, right? We saw the same thing with Sushi Swap. We saw the same thing in the DeFi space. These are narratives that will repeat over and over and over again, right? People will come out with a better product or a new, a bigger offer. We saw this with yield farming. We saw this with staking. We've seen this so many times. And if you're new to crypto, welcome. This is amazing. What a great time to be here. But it's going to happen again. And, as people innovate and as people kind of take on, more and more of those things, you're going to see this cycle repeat. It happens in the real world as well. It happens everywhere. But it's not just a case of being more innovative and grabbing more market share. It's about unlocking more market opportunity, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. So while I say to those people that are enthusiastic or holders of the hyperliquid token and or are looking at the other markets and other opportunities and seeing all of these amazing things happening in green candles, that's really, really good for all of us, right? It's not just good for them, and it's not just good for the token holders and the participants. It's good for all of us. And what we are going to unlock and enable is the ability for these people to flip and choose their telco, or flip and choose the way that they pay, or the way that they interact with any of their, not just investments, but their how they treat assets, how they treat value, how they exchange that value. I don't know anyone that only has one digital service provider or one thing that they use. Like, I don't know anyone that's like, do you know what, I'm a one browser guy, or I'm a one this platform, that's all I'm, I haven't got bandwidth for that, right? the world doesn't work that way, and what we can unlock and create and sort of provide for everyone is that kind of overarching opportunity. And I can, with my hand on my heart, literally say that we're not asking you to trust us, right? We're asking just for that patience and time. However, we understand that there are amazing opportunities and things happening all around, and why would you not want to participate in those things? Why would you not want to see the opportunities around the market? I can say unequivocally that even though there are short-term opportunities, the long-term opportunity is kind of betting on Apple. It's betting on Amazon. It's betting on Microsoft. And they didn't get there overnight. These guys have all built strategically. And I know I'm kind of comparing us in that conversation or in that breath. And while that might seem facetious for a 40 million market cap company that is kind of where we are at this stage, I'm gonna go one step further, and I'm gonna say our ambitions are bigger, right? We want to combine all of those and say, do you know what? Like we've talked about, as you said, how do you communicate that vision? Why are you an L1 with that kind of market cap and all of those things? The reason is because we are positioning ourselves for this phase of our growth and business. And so all of the things that we've talked about will come into play. That's everything from the ESG, the exchange, the Forever Fund, and all of the things that we've built and are building are all critical around what it is that we're about to unleash. And so I guess we're going to narrow the focus a little bit. We're going to probably talk a lot more about the exchange over the next few weeks and simplify that messaging. But the reality is, DevvE is what you want it to be in terms of, if you recognize the opportunity as a business or as an individual, if you care or concern yourself about, money or value exchange or tokens, that's what DevvE is for you. If you concern yourself or care about, social impact, ESG reporting, carbon credits, offsets, that's what DevvE is for you. If you care about unbanked solutions and payment rails, then that's what DevvE is for you. We are all of those things and more, but from a technology point of view, from a core focus point of view, the exchange is the hub that unlocks all of that. And so we will be focusing on that. We will be focusing on the retail products, and we are focusing on obviously bringing that vision to everybody and clarifying that for you. So I get it, and I know you have this challenge regularly, but condensing that messaging down is something that we are now very, very sort of aware of, and we'll make sure that it's not just, hey, it's the everything of everything. It will be more consumable, and there will be more documentation and more outlines around that. And yeah, that's my answer, and that was a long answer, Austin. Sorry.
That was a great answer. And so, question for you, real quick. Here's kind of what I'm hoping to ask you. So, a lot of the problems that we solve are not the problems that the people that we're communicating with are experiencing in their day-to-day life, right? They're problems that these big companies are experiencing, and they're solved in ways that nobody else has been able to solve. And I'm a firm believer that if people are not impressed with the problem, they're not really going to be impressed with the solution if it's not causing them a problem, right? To them,
Absolutely.
Bingo. Can you speak on, in a real direct way, the problem or the problems that we are solving specifically, like the settlement layer or the regulatory compliance layer or things like that? I know that we chat on those all the time, but like these are really big. Can we speak to market size and like how big are these problems in fact?
I mean, they are huge problems, and let's actually schedule another call so that we can go through them in more detail, because I'm going to give you a very quick answer, and it's not enough. But T0 settlement is a big deal, not just for institutions where it's a huge deal. But for anyone that is, exchanging an asset of any kind, right? Imagine you went into a shop right now, a supermarket, right? And you wanted to buy some milk, and you walked up to them with cash in your hand. You handed them the cash, and they said, okay, we'll give you the milk tomorrow. And you're like, but the milk's right there. I want the milk now. And they're like, no, that's not how it works. We have to run this through a clearinghouse. We have to go through a complex settlement process. We have to make sure that your money equals the same as the milk. We have to then, manage all of that. And when that's done, we'll give you the milk. And you're like, but that's stupid, right? That's the kind of narrative that we're working with, now we're working with this in the crypto space with every single exchange. So, Hyperliquid included, with, any of the DeFi exchanges, and, how their settlement processes work behind the scenes, with any of the crypto exchanges, Binance, Coinbase, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we remove that counterparty risk, which I know that sort of is a soundbite, but have a think about how big a deal that is, right? If you're not sure what that means to you as a user or to you from a retail point of view, you really do need to have a look at what that means. And that is something that I think, we will touch on more, in more time when we have more time. But my biggest takeaway is exactly that.
Beautiful. Okay, so we've got another conversation to have. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there, but I want to just say again, last week we couldn't get together. We had a scheduling conflict, but I do realize we're at the point of you can't keep painting the vision. You've got to deliver a product. We've got to something's got to come, right? And we all know that we're at that point. We know. So just we're getting there, boys and girls. We are, promise you. Damn, I had more questions. I can't ask them. I know you got to go, man. So we're gonna keep this going, and we'll pick this up on the next roundup. My name's Austin Davin. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
We'll catch you guys in the next live stream. Take care, everyone.